Imagine, for a moment, that 24 hours before your arrival into this world, a genie appears. He grants you the power to architect the entire global structure, the political systems, the economic gears, and the social contracts. But there's a staggering caveat. You have no knowledge of who you will be. You do not know your race, your gender, your physical prowess, or your intellectual baseline. You are simply a participant in what Warren Buffett calls the ovarian lottery. Buffett is the first to admit that he hit the jackpot. Born in the United States in 1930, male, white, and endowed with a specific neural wiring that perfectly synthesized with a burgeoning capitalist system. Had he been born in the 1200s, his talent for capital allocation would have made him nothing more than a very confused snack for a predator. However, as a senior analyst of human behavior and long-term wealth, I must pose a critical distinction. Luck is the spark, but the operating system is the engine. We have all witnessed those who won the ovarian lottery, individuals born into immense aesthetic beauty, high IQ, or generational wealth who proceeded to liquidate every advantage and die in spiritual or financial bankruptcy. Conversely, we see those dealt a catastrophic hand who build empires of meaning. The variable is not talent, it is the internal operating system. Most people spend their lives drifting, dictated by the currents of societal expectation, parental pressure, and the relentless noise of digital advertising. They live in a state of constant reaction. But to win the game of life, you cannot be a boat without a rudder. You require a code, a set of iron laws that remain unshakable regardless of market volatility or social upheaval. Warren Buffett's billions are merely a byproduct of his principles. Over 9 decades, he didn't just invest in stocks. He invested in an intellectual framework that reprogrammed his brain from drifting to designing. Today, we deconstruct the 5 algorithms that built the world's greatest investor. These are not shortcuts. They are the fundamental laws of character that ensure you never look back at your life with the poison of regret. We live in an era characterized by the addition trap. The prevailing cultural narrative suggests that to achieve more, one must do more. We are conditioned to believe that success is a result of accumulation, more side hustles, more certifications, more networking, more complexity. But in the high-stakes world of capital allocation, Warren Buffett understands a fundamental truth of cognitive economics. Optimization is born from subtraction, not addition. To illustrate this, we must look at the famous 25/5 rule shared with his longtime pilot, Mike Flint. The exercise is deceptively simple. Write down the 25 most significant goals you wish to achieve in your lifetime. Then, ruthlessly circle the top 5. This leaves you with 2 lists. List A contains your 5 non-negotiable ambitions. List B contains the other 20 good dreams. Most people treat List B as secondary priorities, things to chip away at during weekends or spare hours. This is a fatal strategic error. In Buffett's framework, List B is not your secondary list. It is your avoid-at-all-cost list. These items are your enemies. Why? Because you are far too intelligent to waste time on bad ideas. You know how to avoid junk food or obvious scams. The real danger to your legacy lies in the pretty good ideas, the business opportunity that is quite promising, or the hobby that is mildly interesting. These are the silent killers of greatness because they are seductive. They provide a false sense of productivity. They eat up your cognitive bandwidth and steal the fuel required for your top 5 goals. In physics, a flashlight scatters light, illuminating a room but lacking the power to penetrate anything. A laser beam, however, focuses that same energy onto a single microscopic point. One creates visibility, the other creates fire. This is the mental model of opportunity cost. Every hour spent moving a good project forward by 1 inch is an hour stolen from moving a great project forward by a mile. In the game of life, the world only rewards those who move the mile. The inch movers remain invisible, drowned out by the noise of their own busy work. However, embracing this rule is psychologically painful. It requires you to confront your normalcy bias and your fear of missing out, FOMO. Your ego wants to be a polymath. It wants to learn 3 languages, master the violin, and launch a startup simultaneously. But you must be the gardener who prunes the tree. A gardener does not cut a branch because he hates the branch. He cuts it because he loves the tree. He understands that if the tree attempts to grow in 20 directions at once, the sap, the life force, will be spread too thin, resulting in a weak, stunted organism. In 2026, busyness has become a status symbol, a drug we take to avoid the terrifying question, what actually matters? Motion is often mistaken for progress, but a rocking chair has plenty of motion and 0 forward velocity. To win, you must stop rocking. You must take your perfectly good List B projects behind the barn and shoot them, not because they are bad, but because they are the obstacles standing between you and the extraordinary. Cut away the good to make room for the great. In the world of high finance and human psychology, there is a fundamental divide in how individuals anchor their self-worth. Warren Buffett's father, Howard Buffett, distilled this into a singular, life-altering concept: the inner scorecard versus the outer scorecard. This is not merely a piece of fatherly advice. It is a profound lesson in locus of control, a psychological framework that determines whether you are the master of your fate or a slave to the gallery. The outer scorecard is the default setting for 99% of the population. It is a life constructed around reputation, social signaling, and external validation. It is the drive to buy a house you don't need with money you don't have to impress people you don't like. In the digital age of 2026, the outer scorecard has been weaponized by social media algorithms, turning our lives into a series of performances for an audience that doesn't truly care. To test your own alignment, Buffett poses a brutal hypothetical. Would you rather be the world's greatest lover, but have everyone think you are the world's worst? Or would you rather be the world's worst lover, but have everyone think you are the world's greatest? If you hesitate, you are operating on an outer scorecard. You are trading your internal integrity for external applause. The danger of this trade is that you become a leaf in the wind, vulnerable to every shift in public opinion and every market fluctuation. The ultimate stress test for Buffett's inner scorecard occurred during the late 1990s, the infamous dot-com bubble. At the time, the world had gone mad. Companies with zero revenue and no path to profitability were doubling in value every week. Buffett's neighbors were becoming overnight millionaires. The media ridiculed him, calling him a dinosaur who had lost his touch. His own investors were screaming for him to buy technology stocks. Under that immense pressure, a person living by the outer scorecard would have buckled. They would have bought the tech stocks just to look smart at cocktail parties. But Buffett looked at his inner scorecard. He looked at the underlying mathematics of value, and the math said it was a mania. He sat on his hands, endured the humiliation, and slept like a baby. When the clock struck midnight in 2000 and the bubble burst, those who lived by the outer scorecard were wiped out. Buffett was still standing, stronger than ever. Living by the inner scorecard requires a rare form of intellectual independence. It means detaching your self-esteem from your net worth or your social status. When you stop asking, "What will they think?" and start asking, "Is this right based on my standards?" you become dangerous. You become unshakable. True freedom is not having $1 billion. It is knowing that if everything, your money, your status, your reputation, were stripped away tomorrow, your value would remain intact because it is built on the rock of your own integrity, not the sand of public opinion. Build your house on that rock, and you become a fortress in a world of chaos. In the high-stakes arena of global finance, there is a pervasive myth that intelligence is a liquid asset, that if you are brilliant in one field, you are naturally qualified to dominate another. This is the arrogance of intellect, and it is the primary reason why many smart people die broke. Warren Buffett counters this with a mental model that serves as his ultimate defensive perimeter: the Circle of Competence. If you were to walk into Buffett's office in Omaha, you wouldn't find a sophisticated AI-driven trading terminal or a wall of flashing screens. Instead, you would see 3 simple boxes: in, out, and too hard. The secret to his multi-billion-dollar success lies in the fact that 99% of every opportunity that lands on his desk goes directly into the too hard box. He is not interested in being the smartest person in the room. He is interested in being the most disciplined. This requires unlearning a lifetime of academic conditioning. Since the age of 5, we have been trained to believe that "I don't know" is a failure, a sign of weakness that results in a lower grade or professional humiliation. In adulthood, this manifests as a desperate need to have an opinion on everything, from cryptocurrency to geopolitical shifts. But in the architecture of wealth, "I don't know" is the most profitable phrase in the English language. To master this, Buffett looks to the philosophy of Ted Williams, arguably the greatest baseball hitter in history. Williams' secret wasn't just his swing, it was his patience. He divided the strike zone into 77 cells. He knew that if he only swung at the ball in his sweet spot, the center of the zone, he would bat .400. If he reached for a ball just a few inches outside that spot, his average plummeted. Here is the fundamental difference between baseball and the game of life. In life, there are no called strikes. The market can throw you 1,000 pitches, a once-in-a-lifetime tech IPO, a real estate boom, a new digital currency. The crowd will scream at you to swing, mocking you for the money you are missing. But you can stand there with the bat on your shoulder for years, and the umpire will never call you out. You only have to wait for that one perfect fat pitch that lands exactly in your circle of competence. Inside your circle, you are the apex predator. Outside of it, you are the prey. The size of your circle is irrelevant. You can get immensely wealthy by understanding only local car washes or simple consumer staples. What matters is the definition of the perimeter. If you are kind of sure about an investment, you are already standing in the danger zone. In a world that rewards the generalist, the specialist who knows when not to act is the one who survives. You must make a pledge to the inversion model. Focus not on how to be smart, but on how to avoid being stupid. Stay in your spot. Wait for your pitch. The person who swings at everything eventually strikes out on a curveball they never saw coming. If you study the annals of economic history, you will find that the most enduring empires were not built on gold or military might. They were built on the invisible, yet impenetrable foundation of trust. Warren Buffett views reputation not as a social nicety, but as the ultimate economic moat. In his framework, integrity is the gatekeeper of all other human capital. When hiring, Buffett looks for three distinct qualities: intelligence, energy, and integrity. But he qualifies this with a chilling mathematical reality. If they do not have the third, the first two will kill you. Think about the physics of this equation. An intelligent, high-energy individual who lacks integrity is simply a high-performance machine designed to destroy your organization from within. They will use their brilliance to find the loopholes and their energy to exploit them 24 hours a day. Integrity is the logic gate through which all other talent must pass to be valuable. Most people view integrity as a moral burden, a set of rules that prevents them from taking the easy path to profit. This is a short-sighted, linear way of thinking. In a world that is becoming increasingly transparent, where every action leaves a digital footprint, integrity is actually a friction reducer. If your handshake is known to be as binding as a 100-page contract, your trust premium is immense. Deals move faster, legal costs vanish, and high-quality partners gravitate toward you. You become a magnet for excellence because you have eliminated the friction cost of doubt. To maintain this citadel, Buffett utilizes a mental model called the newspaper test. Before any action, any email, any trade, any whispered comment, close your eyes and imagine that tomorrow morning, the details of that action are published on the front page of your local newspaper. Imagine your spouse, your children, and your neighbors reading it over their morning coffee. If the thought of that public disclosure causes even a 1% knot in your stomach, you have already failed. The logic here is a matter of nonlinear destruction. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and exactly 5 minutes to ruin it. Reputation is like fine china. You can break it in a second, and while you can glue the pieces back together, the cracks will always show. In the long-term game of wealth, being a person of unshakable character is not just the right thing to do. It is the most selfishly productive thing you can do. It pays the highest dividends and, most importantly, it grants you the one asset money cannot buy: the ability to look at yourself in the mirror without flinching. Albert Einstein famously categorized compound interest as the eighth wonder of the world, stating, "He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it." While most individuals nod in agreement, few truly internalize the sheer, terrifying power of the exponent. They view compounding as a mere financial tool for a savings account. Warren Buffett views it as a universal law, one that governs knowledge, relationships, and character with the same ruthless mathematical precision as it does capital. To understand Buffett's wealth, you must look past the principal and the rate of return and focus on the most critical variable in the equation: time. The math of his life is staggering. Over 99% of Buffett's net worth was accumulated after his 50th birthday. Had he retired at 60, an age when most are looking toward the exit, he would be a mere footnote in financial history. The magic didn't happen because he found a secret stock. It happened because he stayed on the hill longer than anyone else. Buffett's biography is titled The Snowball for a reason. To build a massive snowball, you only need two things: wet snow and a very long hill. The wet snow represents your capital, your skills, and your integrity. But the long hill is time. In a world obsessed with immediate gratification, time is the variable that most people voluntarily surrender. We live in a TikTok culture of 15-second dopamine hits, where if a package doesn't arrive in 48 hours, we feel a sense of systemic failure. This addiction to the now is the ultimate destroyer of wealth. Compounding is, by its very nature, excruciatingly boring. It is the unsexy work of reading 500 pages a day for decades. It is the discipline of investing in boring companies that make ketchup and razor blades while your peers are chasing the latest crypto mania in Dubai. Most people quit during the flat part of the curve, the long years where you are putting in the effort, but the results are invisible. They plant a tree and then dig it up every week to see if the roots are growing, effectively killing the organism. To win the long game, you must be willing to be consistent rather than intense. Intensity is a flash in the pan. Consistency is a furnace. Look at your habits today, not your goals, but your daily rituals. If you read 20 pages a day, you read 7,000 pages a year. In a decade, you have consumed 300 books. That is the compound interest of the mind. The long game requires you to survive the boredom and resist the urge to interrupt the process unnecessarily. You are not just building a bank account. You are planting trees you may never sit under. That is the definition of true strategic mastery. Understanding that the exponent only rewards those who have the emotional fortitude to stay on the hill until the end. We arrive, finally, at the ultimate filter. We have deconstructed the ovarian lottery, the art of strategic subtraction, the inner scorecard, the circle of competence, and the long game of compounding. But as a senior analyst of both capital and character, I must warn you, all these mental models are hollow if they do not pass the obituary test. From the vantage point of 90 years, Buffett's perspective on success undergoes a radical shift from the quantitative to the qualitative. He has known the titans of industry, men and women who possess the yachts, the private jets, and the buildings named in their honor. They won the outer scorecard game by every measurable metric. Yet, as they reached the end of their lives, they were bankrupt in the only currency that truly matters: love. Their children did not speak to them. Their associates were merely waiting for the inheritance. They died in the most expensive hospital rooms money could buy, yet they died profoundly alone. To avoid this systemic failure, you must reverse engineer your life. Most people live life forward, reacting to the immediate demands of the day. To win, you must live life backward. Imagine the day of your funeral. Imagine the people who matter most to you standing over your casket. What do you want them to say? Do you want them to recount your net worth? Or do you want them to say you were kind, you were a mentor, and you made their lives measurably better? Write your obituary today, not the one that will appear in the newspaper, but the one you want written in the hearts of those you leave behind. This is the ultimate feedback loop. If your current habits and decisions are not aligned with that obituary, you are currently in a state of strategic drift, and you need to pivot immediately. In the high-stakes game of life, money is important. It solves problems and grants freedom. But money cannot buy love. In fact, love is the only asset in the universe that follows an inverse law of scarcity. The more you give it away, the more you have. If you reach my age and no one thinks well of you, your life has been a disaster, regardless of the size of your bank account. Do not let this analysis be just another 10-minute dopamine hit of intellectual vanity. Information without execution is useless. Choose one rule today. Perhaps you need to prune your list B distractions. Or maybe you need to apply the newspaper test to a difficult decision. The world is full of people who know what to do. It is owned by those who actually do it. The game is short, the clock is ticking, and you have already won the lottery just by being here. Play the game hard, play it fair, and above all, play it for the long run.